innocent love for something, and then society comes in and you like wake up to like the real world of other, their messaging. There's messaging that you can't control.
Welcome back to Meet Bridget, a show that sheds light on the often untold teenage and young adult stories of successful women, all types of backgrounds, and in all sorts of careers. This show is an extension of Bridget, a confidence coaching service for young women. I'm Kashia Rosenberg, and I co-host this show alongside my best friend and Bridget founder, Asha Gabriel. For as long as she can remember, Sydney has always been passionate about food and cooking. In an attempt to rediscover her love for food after falling trapped to the often obsessive health food world, she began her food blog at Sydney_KW. It's inspired by her late French grandmother and her time living in Bordeaux, and she began sharing her meals, recipes, and favorite restaurants. So what started out as just a food Instagram has really turned into this massively successful business called the French Squirrel or French Squirrel. Sydney is now a certified hormone specialist. She specializes in blood sugar management and female health through a nutrition perspective. After experiencing her own hormone imbalances, she discovered a natural and holistic approach to healing her hormones through diet, exercise, and powerful adaptogens and herbs. I am really thrilled to have this incredible woman on our show. It's been a long time in the making. I think she's going to have a lot of really valuable insight and just incredible stories to share with our listeners. So welcome, Sydney, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is a long time coming for me to be on this podcast, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So we talked about this a little bit before, but we usually start our interviews with a little deep dive into your past. And it's kind of a sweet homage to how this connection got started, because I know you through my sister who you went to school with. And then again, we reconnected through my cousin and through one of your close friends, Anna Rook, who was on our podcast not too long ago. So if you could start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, and just kind of how Sydney got started in this world.
Yeah, no, definitely. And how, for the listeners, how I know your sister is through middle school, high school. And it's interesting because she doesn't know, like Cara doesn't know the version of me that was in college and after college. So there's so many different, growth periods. And when your sister knew me, I was so into food in the purest sense. And what I mean by that is that it was just a love for food, a love for cooking, and there was no limitations on anything. I would make rainbow cupcakes. I would make banana bread. I would make, like random recipes, barbecue chicken, all these things. And it had nothing to do with health. It was just, I loved food. I grew up around my French grandmother who would always cook beautiful, simple meals. My mom also did too. And I just fell in love with cooking. I didn't even go to a normal like summer camp. I went to cooking school, which I know is so weird, but I was not into the sleepaway camp thing. So over the summer, my parents would send me to this cooking school that's no longer here. Actually, it was near Pico in LA, and I would go from 10 to 1 every day during summer. So you would go in the morning, you would learn how to cut vegetables, cook your protein, and then you would all eat lunch together. And that was the end of the day.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And that's really the old version of me, was just purely into food. And then I got to college. I'm fast forwarding a lot of years, obviously. And maybe this was a little bit delayed, but I definitely think that, especially because of your mission on the podcast, I know that helping other women is my mission too. And I hope that other women don't go through what I went through. But of course, it's pretty prevalent with today society, social media. It's pretty impossible almost to not compare your body to other women. And that's kind of what happened to me in college, I would say, and especially in the years that I was living in the sorority house at UC Santa Barbara. And I'm so thankful for it, but that's where I ended up changing my relationship to food. That's what changed it for me. So it was no longer, oh, I just love food. It's how can I eat the healthiest possible to the point where it turned into orthorexia, which is
Mhm.
like the obsession with clean eating.
Mhm.
And a lot of people didn't even know that I had an issue because that's what's so crazy about these disordered eating habits is that in the disguise of health, people think, "Oh, well, she's just being healthy." But I think
Mhm.
there's a point where it becomes too extreme. So then after that
Absolutely.
extremeness, that obsessiveness, I then found after many years now what my relationship to food is today, which is a balance of both that pure love for food and then the health concept, but not to the point where it's insane. Like, I am eating vegetables and protein and beautiful meals of real food
Mhm.
ingredients, but then I also love smash burgers, and last night, I went to dinner with my friend. We went to try a smash burger, and we did not like the smash burger, and we were already in Silver Lake, and he goes, "What are the odds you wanna go to another smash burger place?" And I was like, "I'm in." And I had 2 burgers last night in one night, and the old me literally would never. And so it's crazy.
Well, I think this is really fun, that we're just jumping right into it because one of the things I love about following you is, 1, I also love food, and I think, it is really common and it is really prevalent, as you said, now to have different types of disordered eating. Comparison is something that Asha and I talk about a lot on the podcast
Right,
because, what we try and impart to our listeners is this ability to find confidence by trusting in yourself. And most of the times when we talk about that, it all boils back down to finding a balanced perspective in order to seek that
right.
trust. And so I'm really hearing that messaging come across with your journey with food. You started off in this really joyous place that it sounds like was instilled in you through your family and then through this just joyful experience of going to summer camp where you learned how to employ these new
Yeah.
skills to like do something that you love. And then you get to college, and it's sort of, to me, reminds me of, like, the advent of social media. Like, when I was growing up, it was, like, Pop Sugar and, like, you know, all of the tabloid magazines, like, that was, like, you'd be walking through the supermarket and you'd see all these things. Now, and probably for you and for, like, my sister, you guys are a little bit younger than me, but, like, you guys really grew up as digital natives where every step of, like, the hardest, most formative years played out in front of not just the peers around you, but like hundreds of peers and then like
Right.
usually like their circles. You talk about that shift coming about in college and like disordered eating kind of coming to the forefront. Do you remember like how that sort of started to spiral for you? Like when your relationship with food started to become less joyous and more focused on like that pattern?
Yes, yes, good question. And I like how you touched on the fact that it starts off as such a pure joyous thing, and then it's kind of like the evolution of a child, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's this pure, innocent love for something, and then society comes in and you, like, wake up to, like, the real world of that they're messaging there's messaging that you can't control,
Hmm.
and it's everywhere. It's in ads on on the street, in magazines, on social media, like, you can't escape it. So I think, and it's also even with peers, as you said too, like it also happens within your own circles with friends making comments, with
Hmm.
teachers, doctors making comments. So I think even that is something to note because my relationship to food has changed because of like entering society, which I know
Hmm.
sounds weird, but that's what it is. The pivotal moment for me, and no hate to my doctor, who is no longer my doctor, but, um, I was a sophomore in college, and this was after freshman year, so, the typical, as they say, freshman 15. That did happen to me in hindsight. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. So, and it just because, I wasn't used to not going to soccer practice every day after school in high school and having home cooked meals every day. I was eating out of the dining hall. I didn't know. No one knew really. So I definitely did put on weight, but in general, my natural body type has always been on not the stick thin side. It's just never been like that. And that's my natural body state, but I tried to change it. And
Mhm.
the reason, and I remember the pivotal moment was from a comment from my general practitioner, general physician, however you say that, my doctor. And he had mentioned something like, oh, you could lose a couple pounds. And I was like, what? I never had any self-perception of
Mhm.
my body. I know that's a really weird thing to say, and I said in the beginning of the record of us recording our interview was that I didn't really have much self-perception of the way that I looked. I
Mhm.
don't know how to and that's why I said it's delayed.
Mhm.
Maybe it happened to girls way before it happened to me,
Mhm.
but a sophomore in college, and it's the first time I'm like, "Oh, someone else's comment was what got me to comment on my own body." And he didn't say anything drastic. He just said, I remember the exact words. He's like, 3 to 5 pounds, which
Yes.
you know anything about anything, that's nothing. That's like a
Mhm.
fluctuation of just like female water weight even.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I took that and I was like, "Oh, I'll try to eat healthier." And I, started to cut back on the meals and make smaller portions. And it went down the
It
wrong
just
path,
spiraled. Yeah.
spiral. And that was the moment when I got a comment from somebody else and I took it, and it was actually with good intention. I was actually trying to be healthier, make better choices, maybe not eat Takis as much as I did. That was my thing, And in
Yeah.
in hindsight, I was doing it from a good place.
Yeah.
Scary part is that shift from the good place to the bad place, and that
Yeah.
happened very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Such a strong point. I think it's really wild, but not surprising. And I think maybe it's part of, this very quintessential girl experience in a lot of ways. I hear this a lot that like there's this one point in time where you can just remember, it's like really, really common. And the other part that strikes me is that it was from a healthcare provider.
right,
And, that's what I do in my day job. And I think what we were lacking before is people don't realize how much it can affect a young person, not even just young women, but a young person at a formative time, especially when you're seeking your own autonomy, you're learning how to live on your own. There's a bit of innocence lost when you say something like, "Oh, you could stand to lose this," without any real explanation. I think now, especially for myself as a provider, when I talk to some of my patients about, changing habits, we try and focus more on, okay, well, maybe let's focus on strengthening your body, like adding resistance in. And then, like, if we want to decrease body fat, like there has to be like a thoughtful conversation behind it. And I think for so many years that just wasn't happening. And, it still happens. You go into the
yeah.
doctor's office and they see 1,000 patients a day. And I'm sure they don't mean anything by it.
No,
But
no,
then you think about it after.
they
Yeah.
don't, and
Yeah.
my previous doctor did not
Mhm.
think anything of that. It was just a
Yeah.
loose,
Mhm.
comment that he threw out there, but I think that goes to show you that one comment can really, like,
Mhm.
words are powerful,
Mhm.
and sorry, what do you do? What is your day job? So what field are you in? That's so
So
cool.
I so
Yeah,
I work in concierge medicine. So I opened a practice with a close friend of mine, and I'm the
perfect,
nursing director and help do everything for patients that we've had for quite a long time. And so
perfect.
it's really interesting because I started out in critical care, emergency room medicine, and then took this big shift into private medicine, and you lose a lot but you gain a lot. And when I say that, it's like you lose a lot of the community aspect, but I got to take that experience into what I do now. And what
Yeah.
I've gained from it is a really, a much broader perspective on how medicine is practiced within and outside of the insurance model. And then, the
Yes.
things that you can do to help people without having a ton of barriers in your way. So it's really interesting.
Yes, and also, I mean, I'm sure you have intake forms, uh,
Mhm, mhm,
where in your field, and I've noticed even in the last few years, the question has been added to a lot of the intake forms. Have you had experience with disordered eating? Yes or
mhm,
no? Please
mhm.
explain. That's a new addition. I don't remember seeing that when I was younger. So I think we're getting somewhere with
Yeah.
that because then I remember going to my current physician who I love. She's great. She even said, "Are you comfortable stepping on the scale?"
Mhm,
I've
mhm,
never heard that before. And in the last year, 2 years about, that's now a question. Are you
mhm.
comfortable with that? She says some patients aren't. And I was like, "No, I'm okay with it now. We
Yeah.
can go ahead," you know?
Yeah, no, I love that, and I love hearing that you've experienced this transition and that part of that, has started your journey, and part of that has been a part of this, like, new journey that you've created for
Yeah.
yourself. So that's really amazing to hear and to understand. Okay, so in college, you have this sort of spiral into this new version of eating where you're like, I'm going to be really healthy about everything. What did that look like for you? Because the freshman 15, and I just want to point this out, and you said this, it's a really normal thing, but it's been stigmatized for literally everyone entering into college academia.
Yeah.
It seems like a bad thing when in reality, like for 99% of the population, it's their first time living away from home, figuring out what a balanced meal looks like, figuring out how much exercise to do or not to do, or what they like to do, or so everyone is going through this big, huge transition and figuring things out. And so, like, of course, your body changes a little bit, and you're not even like through all of your secondary, like, sexual characteristics or growing
Right.
or anything like that. Like, you're
Right.
still very much like not yet an adult. So, when you started going down this path, like, what did that look like?
Yeah, what you said is true. I didn't know, like, oh, protein, fat, carb, fiber. Like, I didn't know how to build a healthy, I mean, I knew what healthy food looked like because of my mom, and she was always cooking really amazing, simple foods. So I knew what it looked like, but when you have all these things around you at the dining hall, I mean, it
Yeah.
kinda goes out the window.
Plus, it's, like, fun. You get to make your
Yeah.
own choices for the first time. So you're
Yes,
like, "Oh, yeah,
exactly.
chicken tenders? Yes." Like,
Yes.
tacos? Yes. Like
100%. So, what that looked like, I think, because I was already in the sorority house at the
Mhm.
time, and being in a sorority was one of the best experiences. Actually, I have very bad, like, little bad things to say about it. The only thing I think that really was not great was, what I was just saying, living in the house and everyone was kind of watching what everybody was eating, making comments, and, like, I even I remember this, like, distinctly. I was making oatmeal and then, like, I would just watch, and this other girl was cutting the banana in half and wouldn't put the full banana on the oatmeal, and I was like, "Well, I put the full banana on the
Yeah.
oatmeal." And then she says something about why I shouldn't, it's too much sugar or something like that, and I'm like, "What?" This is never something that has crossed my mind ever, because I always looked at real food as real food, and obviously there are macro and micronutrients in different real whole foods, but it's not like it was I wasn't putting Sour Patch Kids on
Yeah.
my meal.
Yeah.
So there were comments like that. So what that looked like is, I don't know. It's so interesting because I consider myself pretty strong-headed
Mhm.
now, but I actually let those comments get to me. I
Yeah.
actually started to do those things, like cut half the banana and not put the full banana on it, to the point where I became afraid of a fruit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but I it was mimicking what other girls
Mhm.
around me were doing, and it was kind of subconscious. I didn't
Yeah.
mean to do it, but when you're like, you have this this buffet also, which they had beautiful food at the sorority house, everyone's lining up, and then you feel bad being the one to put more food on the plate than the girl next to you.
Yeah, yeah. It's so
So
interesting how we compare ourselves like so subconsciously to everyone around us. I mean, I think it's
yes,
part of human behavior. It's built into us innately, but to a certain point, it really comes at a detriment. Just to backtrack a little bit, I recall you saying your mom's French, your grandmother's French, and that's where a lot of your joy of food came from. The US is notorious for just not being as healthy as Europe in a lot of different ways in terms of like what preservatives we use and how processed our food is, et cetera, et cetera. Were there any key differences in your household, like with the way your mom prepared food or the types of food that she had at home that really were part of this and might have played into like the college time?
yes, yes. I was gonna say maybe, but definitely yes. Uh, my mom and my grandma cooked very like, I don't really have a better word to describe it. Some people have an issue with the word clean. I
Uh-huh.
personally don't have an issue. It just clean foods, meaning, like, there wasn't a lot of sauces, there weren't a lot of
Uh-huh.
oils and salt to use, it was very simple. So
Uh-huh.
we have this is so funny, but every Wednesday we have salmon night, and it's because of my late French grandmother, and how she would prepare the salmon is just putting it with literally nothing but some oil, olive oil on the top, and broiling it in the oven.
Mhm.
That's it. No sauce, no spices, no
Yeah.
garlic, thing. The green beans steamed, the potato just in the oven baked,
Yeah.
nothing. So I would always apologize to my friends when they would come over, and I'm like, "It's not really that flavorful, it's very thin." And they're like, "Yeah, it's okay, Sydney, don't worry." And there was always salt on the table. So that definitely played a role. Maybe if we go back, like,
Mhm.
psychologically, potentially coming to college, it was like, "Oh, I have mac and cheese and tacos and all these things, and I didn't have that before." So I
Yeah.
don't.
I think it's gonna be really interesting when we jump forward a little bit later into the way you've built your business too.
Okay.
But I asked that question just because, well, one, we were recently in France, and every time I'm in Europe, I'm like, it's crazy. The food just tastes better. And it's not like you're
Yes.
really ordering things that are that different. But there is a big difference in the shift of how food is prepared and
Mm.
sold. And things taste different when they're not loaded with sodium and preservatives. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I grew up in a household where my mom cooked very clean. You know, she's from the Philippines, but traditionally Filipino food is very heavy in sodium and sauces and everything. And I think my mom kind of was going against the grain. So when
Mhm.
we were growing up, it was like a lot of whole vegetables, fishes, meats, like, you know, real foods with like a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. And like that's how I learned how to cook. And so I'm actually not a big fan of like salmon with a bunch of stuff all over it because it just tastes
Yeah.
weird to me. It's like, no, you have to actually taste the food. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And also, like, I'm talking about, like, our dinners.
Hmm.
I ate candy and cookies
Yeah.
and cake. Like, I had a great childhood. The meals were not restrictive. It was just
Hmm.
healthy. It was
Yeah.
not from a bad place.
Hmm.
It was just good, and exactly as you said, the salmon was just salmon, not thrown around in a bunch of sauces to the point where you can't even taste the salmon anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So where along your journey, like in college, did you kind of start reeling things back and realizing that, you know, one, you became cognizant that your relationship with food had really changed? And then how did that start to pivot into what you're doing now?
great question. I would say, well, first, there was just a visible weight loss and dip in energy. I had
Mhm.
0 energy, and I also lost my period for 3 years, and I'm very
Oh
open about
gosh.
this on my Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very open about this on my Instagram because that's my mission behind everything is, again, to, like, educate other women and through my experiences.
Mhm.
And 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
Um, I went to so many doctors, and until I was ready to accept the plain and simple fact of, you need to gain more weight. then that's when everything went in the positive direction. So,
Mhm.
what I mean by that is I think, like, a lot of women I know try to find any other solution to their health problem
Yeah.
besides, "I need to gain weight," or "I need to
Yeah.
eat more, I need to exercise less," or, like, they look for other things. I did it. I was looking for other things. "Oh, let me take this, let me take that, let me do this, let me do that," but then it came down to only one thing, which is that I just needed to gain weight, and my period was the main driver for all of this.
Mhm.
It's, as you know, a marker of female health. If you don't have it, then you aren't, quote unquote, you're not healthy.
Yeah.
You're not fertile enough to produce a child, which is our, like our innate, like it's
Mhm.
a wonderful thing. So that was what shocked me into this, because my doctor said, if you don't change this, you will have a tough time having kids. And she
Mhm.
diagnoses me with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Then I was like, okay. And that's what shook my brain, snap out of it, and I started to eat more. I went to a Chinese herbalist who
Mhm.
helped me with what foods to eat. I went to acupuncture every week. I stopped all intense exercise for, I think, 3+ months. That was
Mhm.
so hard for me. She said,
Mhm.
no exercise, only walking. I'm like, okay. And as for someone who was running on the treadmill every single day,
Yeah.
that was very difficult for me.
That's a huge leap. I mean, you must have been shocked to be sitting, one, to be young. And like when you're young, it feels like nothing in the world can get you. Like you're never going to die. You're never going to break down. You're never going to get sick because, like, frankly, you could drink yourself to oblivion one night and then the next morning, like, go run a marathon. Like, that's just how
Yeah,
young people function. Or if you don't drink, it's like whatever, you stay up until 7 a.m. and then, like, go to your first class and, like, somehow make it through and you're fine.
yeah,
I wanna also make the point here, like, disordered eating, we kinda talked about this a little bit, but it can be really insidious, and I like that you bring up and that you're open about your diagnosis of orthorexia because a lot of times, young women, young men, young people are not really aware that there's more than just, like, 2 versions of eating disorders. Like,
right.
there's more than just, like, anorexia and bulimia. Like, there are people who just become, like, so OCD about exercising, or so OCD about having healthy habits, and all of these things, some of them have names, some of them don't, but they are a form of disordered eating, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to interfering with, like, your physical health. And it's incredible that that path can, literally change your body physiology to not having a period for 3 years. Like, that's a big deal, like you said. 1, that must have been super shocking, and 2, like, your doctor was saying these things, but then you found a pathway to all of these resources, which is really cool, like Chinese medicine, eating more, like, listening to the advice to not work out as strenuously. Was it difficult to take that first step, or did you feel really supported? Like, did you lean on family and friends?
There was a lot of intricacies in that. It
Mhm,
wasn't just, "Oh, okay, doctor," and then now doing acupuncture. That's
mhm,
not at all how it went. I just skipped. I was actually told I need to go on birth control. And I said to my doctor, this is the thing, and I'm not anti-birth control at all.
mhm, mhm.
I but I'm anti-birth control for the purpose of bringing something back that we should have naturally.
I think
So,
that's really so, so amazing of you to say. Keep going, keep going.
I don't wanna be that person. I don't wanna be that person who's anti-Western medicine, or only eat there's a blend. I believe
Mhm,
in a blend, and my doctor told me, "Oh, you need to go on birth control," and my mom was sitting with me there. My mom goes, "Why wouldn't you go on birth control if the doctor says to go on birth control?" And I looked at her and I go, "Mom, why should I take a pill for something that I should have naturally? I should produce it naturally." And I have a bunch of friends who are on birth control. They had it for various reasons, if they had a boyfriend, or if they needed help with skin, or they had painful periods. If that's your last resort, I understand. And it's a great invention. So, again, not
mhm.
hating on it. I think my problem is when, personally, my opinion, when doctors prescribe it for a reason like mine, where it's
Mhm.
just, "Oh, it's not you don't have your period, let me just give you a pill."
When I think it's fair to ask questions as a patient, that's your right, and
Mhm.
there should be a conversation. Like, the whole idea of healthcare and of having a doctor that you trust is being able to have that conversation so that you together can land on a plan. And, I'm a big advocate for people, one, being the driver of their own plan. Like, they should be in the driver's seat, they
Yeah.
own their healthcare information, et cetera, et cetera. But also, like, there is a blend. You don't have to jump to medication, and your provider should be just more than willing to have that conversation with you. Like, okay, you're not keen on meds. Like, here's 3 other versions we can try
Yes.
first. Like,
100
let's do it.
100%. No, it's very well said, and of course, like, you have experience in this space, so I really respect you, so it's
Oh
amazing.
my gosh. No, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I listen, and I don't wanna, like, tout my own
No,
imposter
no.
syndrome right now,
No,
but,
no, no, no,
like,
no, but
no,
seriously, I
but
mean,
it's just
that
about
this is
listening and
cool.
communication.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's cool
Thank
because 'cause
you.
I'm telling you about my experience with the, like, primary care space, and then you're
Mhm.
working in it, so it's cool. And as I said, there have been so many developments since, like, the last few years, but I told her I don't wanna do that, and then she said, "Okay, well, let me give you a progesterone patch." And I was like,
Mhm.
"Okay." Didn't understand really what that was, and I tried it for a few weeks, actually, put it on my back or wherever it
Mhm.
was. For the listeners, progesterone is what actually induces the period, and actually makes you have it. It didn't even work, and I gave up after a few weeks. I just told my mom, "I don't wanna do this. I don't like it."
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I just had a weird feeling, just didn't want it. And I essentially tried it. I tried it out. Then I remember having a conversation with my uncle, my mom's brother, and he's super into health, even though this was a female issue. And I said to my parents, I'd like to go see this doctor that my uncle is talking about, this Chinese herbalist. And I went to see her, my French grandmother, my late French grandmother, who my company is named after, French Squirrel. She actually saw this Chinese herbalist, and I had no idea. No one in my family talked about it, and my
Wait, did
family.
your uncle know when he recommended him?
Yes, and he
Okay.
said, "Actually, your grandma went to go see this woman, why don't you go see her?" So he came with me to the first, like, the initial consult, and my uncle who, like, we're close, but, like, not like that. It was kind of it was funny, thinking about it, like, in hindsight, that was kind of something that I wouldn't really do, is take my uncle to a to but, um no judgment at all. My parents, though, and my brother are the types of people that take anything the doctor prescribes. Anything they say, they do. My dad says he has white coat syndrome, like, like
Yeah.
anything that they do. And I'm just personally not like that. I like to be involved more and do my own research. So then I went to go see the Chinese herbalist, and she said, "I will help you get your period back." And I said, "Okay." And I took every piece of advice she gave, and that's because I was ready for that advice. Again,
Mhm.
so many women are like, "Oh, I need help getting my period back. Oh, I have bloating issues, digestion issues." I hear bloating, bloating, bloating every day in
Mhm.
my messages too, in my Instagram DMs. And I'm sorry, this is very harsh, but I bet you half those girls are just not eating enough, they're restricting themselves. I had so many digestion issues when I was restrictive. I have 0 digestion issues now
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
eat everything. And I know that's harsh, and it's not what girls wanna hear. They wanna hear, like, "Oh, ginger, bone broth, peppermint tea," like, that's all great, but
Yeah, but you need the balance of having
yeah,
food in your system.
yes,
You need to be meeting your
yeah.
caloric, like.
100%.
Yeah. Yep.
So, my parents thought I was a little nuts, and they didn't really believe it. I did have some resistance. So, when you say support, they were supportive, but they were like, "I don't know if I buy this."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And I said, "Okay." I almost gave up because that's how long it took to get my period back.
Mhm.
She told me eat 1 whole avocado a day, no smoothies because everything in Chinese medicine, you have to keep your body warm. And
Mhm.
in order to be fertile, like this area has to, like the uterus area has to be warm, and anything cold is not good. So I
Mhm.
stopped drinking smoothies, only warm foods. She said no exercise, as I said. And I took these herbs every day, 3 times a day. And everyone thought I'm crazy for
Mhm.
taking these little pills after every single meal. And I went to acupuncture every day. And she put a heat lamp on my
Mhm.
uterus again to induce, like, the heat. And yeah, everyone thought I was crazy. And then about 2.5 months in, I felt these weird cramps, and I was like, "Oh, I have not felt that in many years." And that's essentially that was me ovulating, and I didn't even know. And then about, 15 days later, so it was like around the 3.5 month mark,
Mhm.
got my period. And I almost gave up because of how long it took. I was like, "This is not working. What am I doing?" I started to doubt myself. But that's the thing. Eastern medicine is taking everything from the inside, actually getting to the root of the issue, which takes a long time. It's
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
like Western medicine where you take a pill and it's something is fixed. There's no band-aid.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Whether you believe in Eastern, Western medicine, or a blend of both, which I
mhm,
personally, in my own life and in practice, believe in both, there's a blend and a balance. And I think, there is a pill for everything if you want it, but you
right.
have to weigh all of the options. And I think there are so many different natural ways to try things before you jump to a medication. Now, that might not necessarily be the case in every situation. In an emergency case, give me all the meds, give my
100%.
patient all the meds. But
Yes.
in a situation like this where you're working on something chronic like inflammation or your period going away, hormone balance, like, these are things that absolutely take time. Healing your gut takes time and it takes
Yes.
patience and perseverance. And, to do things the right way is to restock that foundation. And I think that's exactly the process you're describing. So I think your body, like your acupuncturist was really smart in focusing on giving your body rest. You hear the hot cold thing, and I don't know enough about Eastern medicine in
Yeah.
terms of the studies for the hot and cold. I know that that is a big part of the process,
Yes.
but smoothies themselves are also like, it takes away a lot of like that fibrous mineral, like all the good stuff that you need out of whole fruits and vegetables. And
Uh-huh.
so like that is also part of that, I
And
think
I
like
drink smoothies, but my
yeah.
family and I, we've had a whole, like, hour conversation about the concept of smoothies. Like,
Yeah.
I still drink them.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, but my brother goes on to say, "Do you think that as humans, we were meant to put all these things together and digest it?" And actually, no. Like,
Yeah.
or it's not actually how we were meant to consume things if we go back
Mhm.
years and years and years, no one had a blender to do that. But again, I don't wanna, like, ruin it for anyone because smoothies are fun, but,
No, they're so fun, but it's really all about balance, and,
yes.
I could definitely geek out and go into that space of,
Yeah.
like,
Same.
ancestral eating, which is,
Yeah.
more and more people are really I think, like, maybe 10 years ago and me I mean, I'm sure if I asked my dad who's, like, read every book about food ever, like, he'd say there was some version of this at some time, but, like, paleo diets and, like, even what was that one? The Atkins diet, which there was, like,
Yes.
another version of the Atkins diet that came out a couple years ago, and I
Yeah.
had a couple patients that were like, "We only eat red meat, like, no
Oh,
other food,"
boy.
and they said that their eczema went away, and I was like, "This doesn't sound like, it sounds good for your eczema, but really bad for, like, every other part of your body."
Yeah.
So
It's anything extreme, again,
yeah,
anything extreme is
exactly.
too much. No, yeah, I appreciate all of that, and it was a journey.
Mhm.
It's definitely a journey, but that was really, like, touching on the rest thing that you said and asking how that got me to the point of, where I am now is that I even this is a whole different topic and a little woo woo, but like the masculine, feminine energy, yin and yang.
Mhm.
And I had way too much testosterone. That's
Mhm.
what was going on. I was like exercising all the time. I didn't rest at all. I wasn't, like eating enough healthy fats
Mhm.
either and carbs, anything that was just it's good for female
Yeah.
hormones.
Hence the
Or wheat.
avocado a day.
Yes. Yes. And like I was just not eating enough protein, all of it. And my Chinese doctor said the avocado resembles the female uterus in Chinese medicine. So I always
Oh.
think about that. So
It's so interesting to me because a lot of these things, like, I guess
you
at
don't
face
yeah.
value, they do kind of sound woo woo, but there is a lot of science behind them. Like
Yes.
omegas and like natural fats like that are so good for you. They're really good for women and they're really good for the natural female processes. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it's not nothing. It's
Right. No,
not
yeah,
for
yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
And just in general, like I
Mhm.
was too much in my masculine. And
Yeah.
how I got here now, I'm still working on it even
Mhm.
years later, which is okay. Like,
Yeah.
I talk to myself, "Sydney, chill and not don't be so in control. You don't need to be in your masculine all the time." And I think that's what I'm working on currently with, being a founder, CEO. It's masculine energy and it's fun and it's awesome to be in your boss energy, but not all the time, and I don't want to be. I
Mhm.
think I need to challenge, myself to be more feminine sometimes and channel that. So that's why I do dance and yoga and cooking and, I don't mind washing the dishes at people's houses because
Yeah.
it just makes me feel, like, feminine. I don't know.
It's the
Yeah.
creative, like, less structured, more,
Yeah.
maternal and empathetic, like, part of our bodies. It's that yin and yang, like you said.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about French Squirrel. So, one of my questions that I wanted to ask was why the name, and then you briefly said it was,
Yes.
in homage to your grandmother. So,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about that because her name
Yeah.
wasn't Squirrel. So
Her name was Sarah.
Mhm.
She was the most amazing human I've ever come across, and anyone that knew her would say the same. A lot of people say we have similar energies. She's the quintessential French woman. She
Mhm.
was the quintessential French woman. Red lipstick, pearls, a scarf, like never left the house unless she was all like, dolled up. And
Mhm.
she had a very thick, like heavy French accent, and French people have a difficult time pronouncing the word squirrel. So we would always make fun of that, and, like, squirrel, even English people like squirrel, like, people don't know how to pronounce it, and, when my mom was buying domain names on GoDaddy,
Mhm.
that was her thing a couple of years ago. I must have been maybe 11 years old, I don't know, and she asked if I wanted a domain name, and I said I wanted FrenchSquirrel.com. And I did not know through all these years that my mom was paying the $5.99 or whatever it was,
Oh my
5
god.
every year until I got to college and I said, "I wanna start a food Instagram." And it was actually called French Squirrel because I was like, "Oh, I have a website called French Squirrel. I own that
Yeah.
website. So let me just use it." And then the rest is history. And I was like, okay, when I started the product, I already had the website. So I know it's weird. It's a weird
No,
name.
it's not. It's actually so oddly,
Yeah.
this is a business thing, and a specific example comes to mind, and I actually it's the opposite in that this was, like, kind of a ridiculous way, but the origin of Lululemon, like, how the
No.
founder named it Lululemon because at the time he thought it was funny that most Asian business partners couldn't pronounce the L. And so they'd have to say Lululemon because it was like there were so many L's in the name and it's like terrible. So this is the
No.
opposite version where you're like actually paying homage to somebody respectfully, but
Yeah.
different ways of naming things for different reasons.
Yes.
And both of you are very successful for very different reasons.
And it's memorable,
Yes.
like, it's a company name that you always remember, and
Yeah.
And sometimes I laugh even still to this day. I've been in business 3 years, and when I have to pick up the phone and say, "Hi, this is Sydney calling from French Squirrel," it's still weird. I still laugh because it's hysterical to
Yeah.
me.
It's one of those things though that it's kismet. I love that it's, that it's in memory of your grandmother. I know that you recently switched your branding so it looks a little bit different, but I love how the squirrel has like the little scarf and beret. Like
Yeah.
it's just so adorable and so for somebody who loves packaging and loves branding, like it's everything you want
Thank
in
you.
something.
My friend actually drew that
Oh,
squirrel.
really?
I was in France, studying in France, and I know you mentioned it in the intro when I was studying in Bordeaux. She drew that for me as, like, a birthday present, and it was the sweetest thing, and I just digitized it, and that was my logo.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love how all of this has really sentimental meaning. I
Yeah.
think ah, I
Everything.
really do. I really
Yeah.
do. So you start your blog, you start with recipes that you love again. I'm seeing this transition back into the joyful
Yes.
area of cooking, eating, consuming, sharing food with the world. What was it like? Like, when did you start to really gain traction? And what did that feel like? Like, what did it look like for you? Like, because it's,
Oh my god.
it's the Wild West.
Yeah, first of all, I start off by saying I don't have that large of a following at all, but I have a very loyal one. I mean, it's unbelievable. I actually like the people who follow me, like they're real followers and
Yeah.
they're very engaged and they trust my content a lot.
Mhm.
And sometimes I feel like, oh, maybe I'm posting too many stories today. And then I get messages, we love your reviews, keep them coming. Love the honesty, love
Yeah.
the honest reviews. I love, like, trying things in front of the
Mhm.
camera, different foods, that's my thing. I started to gain traction, I think, when I actually owned the fact that I have this food Instagram. So, I hid it from so many people, no one knew it was me, it was just the squirrel logo, and I was embarrassed. I was a senior in college, a junior in college,
Yeah.
and was, living in Santa Barbara. I started it more so when I was in France, and no one knew it was me. I didn't say Sydney. It was like this anonymous account with a squirrel emoji,
Yeah.
like, as the or it was so weird. Like, no one knew that it was me, and when I actually started to gain traction was when I was like, "Okay, I am also Sydney. This is my food channel," posting on both pages, and it was this thing where, and I even recently deleted my personal one that I had from
Mhm.
since high school, which was like as another version of my Sydney KW Instagram. And it doesn't sound like a big deal to people, but I had 3 Instagrams. I had
Yeah.
a regular account, I had like my recipe page, and then I had my company page. And
Mhm.
I would, for example, go on a date with a guy and I would give them my Instagram that I never used. It was an old version of me just for photos of me, and it didn't have anything to do with food. And I was like, why do
Mhm.
I have this? This
Yeah.
is so stupid. That's not me anymore. I do like talking about blood sugar and peanut butter and hormones and all these things. And this is my page. So I got rid of French Squirrel as the recipe page and I made it
Mhm.
Sydney KW. And this is me. And that's when I actually started to gain more of a following because I owned it.
It's really earnest and it's very honest, and it's so just unique and lovely and so you. Like, it's so like, such a great example of who you are as a person. It's like all of these things came together and, like, morphed into this one thing. I
Yes.
also like the idea and the concept of getting rid of an Instagram is not
Yep.
something I've ever thought about before,
Lead
and
it.
I realize that in this new Wild West world, like, most people pick an Instagram, have one Instagram for the duration, and then there's this, like, this deep desire for everybody to brand themselves and to stick to
Mm.
whatever that brand is and to make sure that that's your story from, like, here on out. And what I really love about this journey and about your story is that you kind of like figured out how to streamline all of this in a really authentic way. It's like there are no rules here. Like, Sydney's making her own rules, and this is what it is. That's really fun and really awesome. So, the food, the
Mhm.
snacks, they're amazing. What sparked, because I'm pretty sure, and you can correct me, please correct me, but I'm pretty sure that your initial product was the bateau. Am I pronouncing that right? Like
It's super right? But that
the
was my
day
second product.
Oh, it was? What was the first?
So I started with the berets, which are the protein bites, and then I launched the bateau, and then now I have the bisous, which are
Ugh.
if for everyone that is listening, they're all French names, but they don't mean like, a beret is something I came up with.
Yeah.
It's not or actually my boss Vito from when I was working at Air One corporate offices, he's the one who came up with
Mhm.
beret.
Mhm.
Genius.
Yeah. No, I think that's so cute because they actually do kind of look like little berets, but those are the ones that
Yes.
are filled with, like, the protein, like
Yep.
almond butter or
Yes.
peanut butter.
Correct.
Okay. And then the bateau is, like, the date with, like, the almonds and
Yep.
peanut butter with the chocolate. Yeah. It's like a Snickers, but, like,
Yes.
just
Healthier.
healthy. Like,
Correct.
no preservatives, no binders, like,
Yep.
best quality chocolate. I had no idea that you started at Erewhon.
Yes. So I was working full time for Air One, and how I started the business was I would bring those protein bites to the
Mhm.
office. No intention of starting it. That was just my snack.
Mhm.
I would bring those protein bites to my office and I would eat them at my desk every day around like 3, 4 PM, like my afternoon snack. And my boss, Vito, would always say, "Why are you eating the same thing every day? Are you not going to share it with anyone?" And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you wanted to try this, but okay." So I gave one to him and he goes, "These are insane. Why are you not packaging them? You need to start your own business and package them." And I thought he was insane. And I just went with his advice, and that was my first product.
Oh my
Well,
god. I actually okay, so I need to know more.
yeah,
So
there's
Vito
more.
comes up with this idea
Yes.
and he
Okay.
coins the term beret. 1,
Yes.
is he on your payroll? 2, what was
I
the first thing that you had to do in order to make this snack into a reality?
so, like, I call him, like, he's more like he is a business advisor for me. I'm
Yeah.
very, very thankful for him. French Squirrel would not be what it is today at all if it weren't for him. And it says a lot about Erewhon as well as a company because I know, from other friends that do their own side hustle, they can't be vocal about the fact that they're doing a side hustle
Mhm.
because, companies don't like that typically, but they were so supportive of me and they continue to be. He said, "You should start your own business. You should start packaging these." I took his advice. I went to a commercial kitchen. I, ended up connecting with a graphic designer who I found from Instagram, and I
Mhm.
was packaging them in these cellophane bags with the label. I didn't know what I was doing. I think when people ask me, they say, How did you think of starting this business?" And I know it's not what people want to hear, but I didn't know I was starting a business. I know that
Mhm.
sounds weird. It was just like an extension of my passion, like to make these protein bites. And I wasn't sitting here, okay, what's my business plan? What do I plan
Mhm.
to do in revenue? And what are my sales projections? I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to even order ingredients at wholesale cost. I was buying them at retail value. I was, making them in the commercial kitchen and kind of just seeing where it went. And my boss said to me, he goes, "Where are you with your protein bites?" Like, I got my incorporation, did all the legal filings.
Mhm.
I set up the Instagram, I did photo shoots, and he's like, "Why haven't you launched yet?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's not really ready."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Just do it next week, just launch." And I love him, but, he's just very, like, intense.
Yeah.
It's actually what pushed me to do it. His intensity is what got me to be where I am today because he's like, "Why are you waiting?" Because I was waiting for it to be perfect, and there's no
Mhm.
such thing. And my favorite quote is from the founder of LinkedIn, actually. That's, "If you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you didn't launch soon enough." That could not be more true. I am definitely embarrassed about the first couple of the product, but I got it out there.
Yeah.
And I talk to so many founders all the time, and wannabe founders, and they go, "Oh, well, it's not this. It's been years in development. It's been months in development. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." Just get something out
Yeah.
there. And that's the biggest hurdle, is like to announce it to the world. And I couldn't have done it without him.
I love that. It's proof of concept and it's inspiration all in one. Like you took something that, as you said, is an extension of yourself and just took that leap of faith. And like,
Yes.
good on Vito for encouraging you and
I
sticking
know.
to it because
Feel
it's
like
very
my mentor.
rare. Yeah. Like when people like that come into your life, hold on to them
Yeah,
because, you know, it's hard to find people who are going to genuinely cheerlead for you. And so,
right.
I mean, that's part of why Asha and I love what we do so much. It's like we get to talk to all of these amazing people and like keep them as a part of our community. And it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
So,
And also, I was going to say on that, keeping people in your life like him, absolutely. But
mhm,
also, on the flip side, keeping people in your life who will tell you when something's wrong or when
mhm,
something's bad, who are honest. He would taste different versions of different products that I would give him. What do you think? And, a lot of people don't tell you what they really think because they're
yeah,
afraid of your feelings. And it's important to keep people around that tell you regardless of your feelings. Like, I don't
yeah.
like this.
What did your parents think? Because I remember you saying that they were like not totally sold on the Chinese medicine. But once you got to this
Oh,
stage where you're
yeah,
like making these delicious snacks, were they taste testers?
yes, and they're totally on board. My parents are amazing, and I also couldn't have done this without them, and my mom is, like, my biggest fan. And
Naturally, yeah.
yeah, and my she doesn't stop talking about my company, which is the sweetest thing ever, and my dad as well, very supportive and, always interested in the food business.
Mhm,
My dad's a lawyer. He just is interested in how the food business operates, and
mhm.
I share a lot of that with him because it is very difficult.
Yeah,
So,
and different. My husband's in the beverage industry, which is
uh,
not a far cry from
no, it's very
yeah,
similar.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
it's a
and
country.
he's been doing it for a while, and you're just like, "This is very intricate and not something that I would be good at," but he's great at it. Before we kinda wrap this up, like, the world of food and CPG, which is consumer packaged goods, is a beast in and of itself, and just the way that you got started, just very intuitively following kind of like what your passion was leading you through is really, I think, amazing because, like you said, you didn't really have a business plan. You didn't have like a big angle. You just wanted to put these snacks that you loved out there. And then, from what I can see, you just keep churning out like deliciousness to the general population.
Right.
What have some of your biggest challenges been when scaling this and growing this? Like, do you have help? Is it just you? Like, what
Mhm.
does this look like for you now?
Yeah, I have a co-manufacturer now.
Mhm,
So that period of time where I was making the product lasted only a couple months,
mhm,
which I'm so grateful for because I could not have done that any longer making
mhm,
the product. And finding a co-manufacturer, co-packer for anyone listening, that's essentially your partner who manufactures the product for you. And,
and you
that's
have to
how.
find the right fit. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's one struggle, is I think if you talk to any CPG brand, finding the manufacturer that's right for you is the hardest part of the food industry, I think, in
Mhm,
my opinion, because it's almost this trust and relationship that you have to build with this partner, this company, that's saying it's this awkward phase where it's, I have sales, I have a following, I'm not a huge company yet. I will be, but I'm not a huge company yet. Can you help me grow this?
mhm,
And I think that's the most important part, is finding that partner who's willing to take a risk on a small but budding business. So that's one. Two, I am really a one woman show still, but I do have amazing interns, and I have my business advisor, Lauren,
mhm.
who is amazing. She actually works with Akasha too. So Alex and Ashley know her, and it's because of Anna and Alex that I work with Lauren. So
Mhm.
she's amazing. She works with a bunch of CPG brands and really helps me in ways that I can't even describe, because it's just having a second brain even to remind me of things that are like to tell me things I didn't even think about
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all.
I think it's really cool because you're doing this alone, yet you're finding different ways to leverage resources through really trusted sources. So, is the CPG world, I'm going to presume that it's male dominated.
Yes.
Just a guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's one tip that you have for our followers who are really interested in going down a path like this? How are you cultivating this group of people around you, and how do you like find your folks like in this
Mm.
extremely male dominated industry?
Yes. I would say I'm very much an energy person, and that means that when I get on the phone with someone, I kind of know instantaneously that I wanna work with them or I don't. And it's in the span of 5 minutes actually. And, it's the same thing with dating. It's just you get a feel, you get the vibe. Is this person gonna work with me or are they not? Like, is this a good fit or is it not a good fit? And the second I hopped on the call with Lauren, I knew it was a good fit. And I also work with this amazing food focused CFO who's helped me out, and it's through contacts as well. And also just not being afraid to speak up and voice what you need or what you're
Mhm,
looking for. And I think in my parents' generation or like previous generations, it's this hush hush mentality. Like, do not talk about what you're looking for or what you're lacking or what help you need. It's
mhm,
figure it out on your own. Don't voice it to the entire world. And I think where our generation is different is let's all help each other, and say, I can write on LinkedIn, hey, I'm looking for blah, blah, blah. Or I can tell one CPG founder, which I did, I said, I'm looking for someone who is a specialist with CPG finance. So I have a
mhm,
bookkeeper, accountant, but they're good at their jobs as being an accountant and bookkeeper, but they don't know about the food industry. And so I
mhm,
actually voiced out loud to all my friends in the CPG space, if you know of anyone who does food and finance together, please let me know. And after a couple times of saying it, speaking it out into existence, I found this woman and I listened to her podcast. She has a podcast too. Her name's Sarah Delavan, the Good Food CFO. And I reached out to her and I said, I've heard great things about you and now I'm working with her. So again, also an energy thing, had great energy with her. And she also, I think, focuses mostly on a women owned brand, which is really
mhm.
nice. And I hope that answered the question, but I think it's like voicing where you need help and then the right people will come.
No, I think it's absolutely the perfect answer because what you're really saying here is like you say what you need, you speak this into
Mhm.
existence. And I think you're so right that, our parents' generation really, and they every generation respectively goes through a lot. And I think what our parents went through in the times that they grew up really did lend to this idea of, okay, figure it out and be resourceful, which can go a very, very long way.
Yes.
But I agree that one of the things that's quite different in this generation, and perhaps it is that interconnectedness, is we're a lot more willing to seek help and to look
Yeah.
for resources. And I think it's a really, again, it goes back to that balance of like, trust in yourself to make the right decisions and trust in yourself to be the executor of your actions. But do not be afraid to ask the right questions or to ask
Right.
any question.
Yes, right,
And
it's the balance.
yeah, yeah.
I get asked a lot of questions like,
Mhm.
"Hey, where do you get this from?" And it's like, I can't share everything about my business either, there's a balance.
You're like, here's the recipe.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, like, "Oh, what brand of this do you use?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's proprietary," you know?
That's another good point. Learning when to answer the questions and when to refrain.
And I want to help other people. I
Yeah.
always do. I always do. But there's that, as you said, there's a balance, like being
Mhm.
resourceful, like to figure it out on your own, and then also asking for help where you need it, like a
Yeah.
balance of both.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited just being a follower of you, knowing of you now, having interviewed you,
Thank you.
your brand and how you've scaled and grown and created such an incredible, delicious product that is actually quite healthy in terms of dessert snacks and foods. I
Thank
mean,
you.
if you eat 10 bags, I don't know how healthy that is, but it is
No,
healthy.
they're meant to be satisfying because
Yes.
there are no preservatives and no soy lecithin, no,
Mhm.
emulsifiers, or weird sweeteners that actually
Mhm.
alter your fullness cues, by the way.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of sweeteners trick you into thinking that you are, like, getting the sugar, but you're not, and that's also something, like, with a lot of people ask me, like, "How many of these protein bites should I eat? How many of this should I eat?" I get that question all the time. It's like, there's actually only real ingredients in it, so your body will actually tell you how much to eat of it.
Yeah.
Like, stop when
Like if
you're
your body says a bag, eat the
yeah.
bag.
No, but you know what I mean, you
No,
know?
no, no, no. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Like, it is a real thing, and I really enjoy that you've put so much thoughtfulness into literally, not just the branding, the detailing, the taste, the flavor, the ingredients, but also how these ingredients impact your consumers and how they enjoy them and how they consume them. I think it's really thoughtful of you as a founder and as a creator of packaged goods. And it really shows in the quality and taste and just the overall, everything of French Squirrel. It's
Thank
incredible.
you. Thank you.
I would love to keep you all night, but I can't do that. So we'll have to talk about bringing you back in some capacity. In the
Yes.
meantime, I would love to start closing this out with our fast five questions, which are just fun little ways to kind of shake off the seriousness of the episode
Mhm.
before we close out with our final moments. Number one, what is your all time favorite comfort food?
Oh my god. Pad Thai.
Delicious. Number
Yes.
two, least favorite bite or food you've ever had.
Fennel. I don't like fennel.
Really?
Yes.
Um, it's so specific.
No, because I usually like all foods. I love
Yeah.
everything, but fennel is like black licorice to me, and I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, if you had to give up one, would you give up chocolate or peanut butter?
Oh my god, that's so hard. I'll give up peanut butter because there's so many other alternatives that like sunflower butter that taste
That's
like peanut butter.
true. I'll
So,
have to think of a trickier question next time. I was
chocolate,
like,
I
this
don't
one's
know.
gonna be like a stalemate.
Chocolate is my love. So,
Okay,
no.
and you can't do, like, any of the chocolate alternatives, like, what are those other, like,
Oh my
the
god,
mint.
like carob? No, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. Okay, me neither.
Yes.
Number 4, how do you close out hard dates?
Hard days?
Mhm. Like,
Hmm.
before you go to bed, like, how do you just kinda reset?
Okay, sounds weird, but my favorite thing to do is sit in my apartment and kind of sit on the floor, like the carpet, and I'm not even sitting on the couch, but I'm just on the floor and I'm like eating my dinner, and it's just a nice way to unwind, and I
Mhm.
watch a show and make some tea, but it's the sitting on the floor thing. I know that sounds weird, but that's my favorite thing to do, and it really calms me down when I have a bad day.
It's your safe space. I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, conversely, how do you start your best days?
Mm. Without looking at my notifications, number 1. So, being present, getting sunlight in my eyes, circadian rhythm,
Yes.
and making a really beautiful, nourishing breakfast. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day, and everyone knows that I just kind of need that silence in the morning. That's
Mhm.
my thing, and going to either make a coffee or walk to get a coffee in the morning. So that's my favorite thing to do.
Which, by the way, I have to say your coffee and drink content is, like, to die for.
I
I'm
make
like
it my job.
I
I
have
make it
so
my job.
many, like, to do like, places to visit now just from following me.
Well, because
But yeah.
now that I'm full time with the business,
Mhm.
I have to get out of the house and not work
Yeah.
from home. So then I go and I'm like, "Oh, which coffee shop should I try today?" And
I
that's what
love
I do.
that. I
Yeah.
love that. Alright. We ask this question of all of our guests. What was one quality you had as a young woman or a teen that you didn't take pride in then, but that you look back at now and you really admire?
Mm. I would say can I say 2 things?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. One, I would say maybe my weirdness. Like, I think everyone is weird. The coolest people are weird. And if you're not weird, you're boring, you know? I mean, boring in a bad way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And like embracing that, and I'm not like everyone else. I'm unique to me. And I would, like, hide that part of myself or, like, feel embarrassed about certain, like, music that I liked or certain foods that I liked, and now I'm still, like, on Instagram, I am fully myself, and it's my place to just be weird and be funny, and even still, I kinda catch myself sometimes be like, "Is that too weird to post?" But it's not that weird, and people like people that are different and unique. So that's something that as a kid I would have like I tried to hide and now I'm just like, yes, I am weird and that's me. And then a second thing would be um I was a very hard worker in high school, middle school. I studied so much. Like now looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? But all of those moments led me to here, like to go to an amazing school and then to be able to have the skills to start my own business and be diligent. Like I'm very motivated and it's a self motivation. I don't like need it from anywhere else. It's my own thing. Sometimes it's too much. Maybe I'm too much, but that's what got me here. So I think before I would be like, why did I always study so much? I was like such a nerd, but okay, that's where I am now. So, you know?
I really it's something that is bringing me so much joy, like, if our listeners could see my face through some of these interviews, it would be so embarrassing because one thing I love so much is not just authenticity, but it's this desire to really embrace that inner weirdness and to, like,
Yes.
just let yourself explode, like, into the world, and I think that's one thing and it's not that people do it without fear or without self consciousness, but it's just taking that courageous leap of self confidence just to do
Yes.
it and just to like live with the consequences afterward. And most of the time, if not all the time, they're really beautiful consequences. There are things that create
Yes.
companies like French Squirrel and enable women like you to continue telling their stories and sharing their stories with our listeners. And I cannot thank you enough for coming onto our podcast and just delivering all of this goodness to everyone. Where can our listeners find you? Where can they buy French Squirrel? Tell us everything.
So, website frenchsquirrel.com. We have a store locator. We are all over the US. We are at Erewhon, Bristol Farms, Mother's Market, Berkeley Bowl, and Buy Right Market in San Francisco. We are also in all Foxtrot locations. That's like Chicago, DC area, Texas, Dom's in Chicago. And recently, our biggest launch is at the Fresh Market, which is 84 stores, Midwest, East Coast, so like Alabama, Kentucky, Missouri, all these places that I even haven't been to, but I'm dying to go to. So you can find us at stores, also online, and our Bizou, our newest product, the cereal clusters that taste like Muddy Buddies, they are on Amazon.
Oh my
So
gosh, I'm so excited. I did not know that and I haven't tried
yes.
those yet.
Oh my God,
Okay,
they're so good.
I can't wait.
They're
Thank you
so good.
so much, Sydney. I've really, really enjoyed this.
Me
To
too.
our listeners, this has just been such a treat. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.